Where'd he go?
Let me find my file on that. I want to talk about it. Here we go. Jason and I were talking about that other too.
Oh, with the,
Email.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then we're gonna have an issue right here too. That service delivery part right there. The city's planning on not running that line now, so the county needs it back, and we need to finish right there. That little section from there to there.
Good to see you.
Region City, we're gonna run that.
Good to be seen.
You ready?
It's 8:30. I'm in it.
Yeah, ready? I want to call this meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody. It's great to see a full crowd here. We're looking forward to y'all's input. Anybody would like, you can sign in if you'd like to do so. But this time I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I need approval of the agenda.
So much, Joe.
Have a motion, we have a second? Second. All in favor, aye? Ayes have it. Our invocation and pledge tonight, it's an honor to have Gary Thompson from Elam Baptist Church who's going to do an invocation and pledge.
Let's bow for prayer. Eternal God, I want to thank you for this beautiful day you've given to us. Thank you for your Son who gave his life for us. And thank you for the hope that we have of peace and joy and love in our hearts. Father, I thank you for this community and for all the people who live here, for all of our leaders. I pray that you'd give them wisdom to know what to do and that you would guide them in the ways that they should lead us. And Father, I just pray that you would be with the meetings tonight and all the deliberations. I pray your will be done. Lord, let all of us learn to work together, to live together, and to share. And, Lord, I just pray that you'll be with our nation right now. Father, it's been a tragic weekend, and it's so bad when people just have things that come up in their life and cause them to harm other people. Father, we even frightened for our kids and our families sometimes. And so, Lord, I want to thank you again for being able to live in Jones County where we can feel protected and safe. And I pray that you'll continue, school starts back, to watch over our kids and their teachers and give them safety. And Lord, again, you just be with each of us. And I pray that you forgive us where we fail you and where we fail others. And help us that we might live the way you would have us to do. For I pray all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't run.
Thank you. Thanks for nobody taking the lead.
We want to thank you. You got your pen to be officially certified and come back again.
Will this work at Waffle House?
Yeah, Waffle House accepts it.
Is it 10% off anyway?
Again, I want to welcome everybody, and just for the record, it's August 6, 2019. We did start at like 6:01, so that's for the record. We want to thank Gary for the invocation and pledge. Tonight we start off with board appointments. We have approval to reappoint Clifford Bowen to the Historic Preservation Board for 3 years with a renewal date of September 1st, 2019, which will run through August 31st, 2022. I entertain a motion to reappoint him to the Preservation Board.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. No discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. No, no. We have the consent agenda and approval for the minutes. We have third Tuesday, July 16, 2019. Also, we had executive session on July 16, 2019. Work session, July 26, 2019. Call meeting, 26, 2019. Executive session on July 26, 2019. If y'all had an opportunity to look at the minutes, thing looks fine. I need approval for that.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion approved. We have a second?
Second.
Second. No discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. We move on to new business tonight. Number one in new business, we have approval for the Jones County City of Gray Service Delivery, SDS Water Service Area update. Mr. Risner, you?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we have anybody from the Regional Commission here tonight, do we? So I will cover it.
Okay.
This, I think, was prompted when the City of Gray agreed to serve the Jones Mill Circle area out past Dames Ferry Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been added to this map, and it's been circulated to certainly county staff, city staff, and our engineer as well. So I think everything is in order here. This is just something that the Regional Commission needs approved so that they can submit it to Department of Community Affairs.
All right, for the record, I see one questionable error on there. Original service delivery from Huckabee Road to Camelot, the city was gonna run that line and tie into our Camelot line. With the intentions, they thought they were gonna be able to get access to direct Macon Water Authority, but since then, they've changed their mind. The county needs that section back in the event we ever wanna continue our loop to tie it back into Hudson Plantation. That's the only thing I see in there, is that area from Camelot to Hudson that we need to question the city. If they're not gonna run that line, we sure don't wanna limit ourselves to, if we need to continue our loop, that would be the connecting area right there.
Okay.
So,
We need to table it.
we need to table it until we can get with city and, but last conversation I had with them, they had no intention of running that line at this time, because so we can get, if they're not gonna run it, we need to remove that area from Hudson. They'll still have Jones Mill Crossing, or whatever, in that Jones Mill Crossing across.
Jones Mill Circle or something.
Whatever that,
Yeah.
whatever that area is over there, they'll have it, but from that point to where they cross the road to Camelot, the county needs to have it back. Just like I
Okay.
said, I hate to limit ourselves from finishing the loop if we needed to do so, and that would limit us from doing that. So I can get a motion to table.
Do we have a timeline? Is it based on our budget year or fiscal year?
I don't know.
I think our certification is still in order, and I think it will still be in order even if you table this until a future meeting, so.
Okay.
Motion to table, Chair.
Second. No discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye. Ayes have it, thank you. Number 2, partner with the city of Gray in the purchase of a ladder truck. Chief, you wanna come forward?
Everybody doing all right this evening?
Just fine.
Good.
So where we stand currently with this, last time I was here, I presented, we were looking at a used apparatus that was $557,000. Since then has been sold, so that unit's no longer available unless something falls through with that. So we're actually looking to see what we can find now and go from there. So with that being said, we still stand where we were before. We're just asking to see if y'all would be willing to assist with the purchase of one.
Talking with Commissioner Kitchens earlier, you wanna share the ideas or what Bacon Bill's been doing?
Yeah, we talked a good bit about this, and I think we talked a little bit about it at the last meeting, and I echo what I said at the end, is I don't think it needs to be an us and y'all type thing. It needs to be all inclusive. The needs are everywhere, and I don't think our residents care where that truck comes from when they need it, whether it's rescue or fire or whatever. So, but I also believe that, we all have the same burdens and we have the same issues. We all have aging equipment, failing equipment, and a real need. And I talked a little bit about this to Don about the possibility of a lease program where we go and maybe we follow the guidelines of the service delivery strategy, where we lease vehicles on a percentage basis, and so I think that's something we need to really look into. That gets all of us new equipment, and it gets us on a lease program. I think that's a true partnership, because it doesn't work for either one of us, I don't think, alone. And it may even require us to partner with some surrounding counties just to get the quantity we need to get a good price on them. So I think that's something we really need to look into. And Chairman, I'd be more than willing to work on any kind of committee you assign or anything like that for it.
I think it'd be great to get a committee together. I mean, we talked on it, you were talking about looking at, I don't know what the numbers, Don, if 5?
I've got every number you need.
Great. Well, if we can, we'll let Don share what he's come up with.
So this is only pumpers. Where
Okay.
where we're struggling with, I don't think that, yeah, is that on? Yeah. No, it wasn't, I'm sorry. They probably couldn't hear from behind. What I was
asked to do was to get prices on the pumpers. First things first, the wreckage that we have, we're on the move with it. I just got a preliminary price of what the replacement is going to be from ACCG. The insurance people, they're not going to wait on the other insurance. They're going to go ahead and pay out. They gave me a number yesterday afternoon. They called back today just as I was walking over here and wanted a list of the items that were on board when the wreck occurred. I told him all we had at that given time was a bent gas can, and the rest was in good order. He said, I still need that list, what was on that truck, because we can calculate some weight. So we're talking right around the 300 to 350,000 to return on it. Our newest truck right now is what we have is 21 years old, and that's a pumper. That's the newest we have, and the rest are 25, 30, even some over 30. I've got delivery price on just buying them straight out. If we were to order 5, we've got a lease own program. We got a lease return program. Typically, if we were just in the ballpark, if we were to order 5 trucks, not talking about the wreckage because it's going to be a whole deal, to lease these vehicles, it would be no payment for 1 year. We'd spec it out, they would make them, they would deliver within a year the way you want them, and the approximate price would be I want to be exactly right. All right, to purchase them straight out would be $437,000 a piece. Okay, so that's a good minute. You see how high they've gone now.
Yeah, because the truck that wrecked was under 300 when you bought it.
Right, it was 287. So with that being said, a lease program. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to show.
I didn't want to put you on the spot.
All right, well, that's okay. I've got it actually in my head. There's no payment for 1 year after delivery. Your first payment will come 12 months exactly from delivery. $124,000 a month, whether you go 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years. Okay, this is for 5 trucks. At the very end, let's say we go 7 years, which would be very good, I take that back. It's $214,000 a year, one payment every year. Once those 6 years is up, you've got a whole year to make up your mind whether you want to make the last payment as $700 and some odd $1,000. Okay, so if you want to turn them back in, they will credit that $700 and some odd dollars for 5 new ones. So as more time as you put in, by the time you make it to 12 years, 14 years, or even up into 18 years, you're replacing with paper. There's no exchange.
So we're 100 something a month or 200 something a year.
A year. 200. I think it's 214,000 is what the least that I've found.
Like you said 100 something a month a while ago.
I'm sorry.
Ain't no problem. I was going, whoa.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have that many numbers in my
There's only
calculator.
there's only one payment a year on a lease program, but at the very end, you've got that option to either keep them. If you're going to keep them, it's $700 and some odd $1,000. If you want to turn them back in, then they will credit you that $700 and some odd dollars. It will be credited towards the next 5 that you receive. Now that's with the Pierce Company.
Right.
You've got E1 Company. You've got
So it's something we want to obviously look at.
Right. I've got for 3 companies that are serving the Middle Georgia area. You got KME they just bought a building in Milledgeville in the industrial park. You've got Pierce 10-8, Pierce Company, which is 90% of our vehicles right now, are out of Forsyth. And then the KME will be there in Milledgeville also. The E1 and the KME will be in Milledgeville, and then our Pierce Company is out of Forsyth. So you're good on service either way. Got prices from higher, but that was about the lowest that I could find, and it was at a little bit over 2% on the lease programs.
That sounds like a no-brainer to me.
So-
With this new technology of vehicles and all, that scares me to death.
Right.
As far as the computers and everything, to think that we could get 5 new trucks basically you're talking about new trucks every 5 years.
I would go 7.
7?
Yes.
Every 7 years, you'd get 5 new trucks. And,
Now, if we want to keep them, we'd have to pay that big balloon at the very end.
right.
All right, if you're looking at 5 units, you're looking at $2.2 million worth of apparatus. Now, that's without equipment. That's naked as a jaybird is the way they would come. And equipment is around $50,000 to $55,000 to put equipment on their hose, appliances, and that kind of thing. I've got all the printouts. I can send you every one that I've got. I've got 6 different ways that we could do this with the correct numbers, and they're all certified. They give you a month to make your decision or whatever you want to do. So they're all certified. I can forward them to him, and we'll whatever y'all want to do. It's but that one separate is not in the pitch. I just said I'd want 5 engines and how much it would cost on the lease, and then I wanted it so many different ways: 3, 7, 5.
I'm opening up for comment. Commissioner Martin?
Yes, with exception to the unit that was destroyed in the accident, how soon do we need to place ours versus Gray's particular need at this point?
I'm not sure. I'm
Other than the unit that was destroyed in the accident,
right.
how soon do we need to replace our trucks versus the need that Gray has?
We need our trucks ASAP.
Okay.
We needed them yesterday.
Okay.
The truck that I pulled in, we pulled in from Station 11, and we put another reserve out of Station 11, but the engine that was out that we bought had to buy used for Station 11. We brought it into Station 1. We had a tree fire, arcing wires, and something broke on it in the middle of the fire, but we had to get it fixed on the double.
Okay. Did you quote Gray's truck?
Did I?
The
No, sir.
ladder truck? Okay.
I didn't know what his specs were.
Okay.
For probably the baseline of specs on a new aerial truck, and that would be a single axle, not the tandem like we was looking at the used one. You're
Okay.
looking upwards 8 to 860, and that's very, very basic. That comes on units, but has specs.
Okay. To save a little bit of time, Chairman, I know we're going into budget, and I'm sure you guys are probably close, and if not, I know you guys keep a good number of reserves. I'm ready to move that we partner with Gray to go 50-50 on the truck, and then also for us to move ahead with our units and include that in our budget so we're prepared for that on the lease option.
All right. So we're doing that's your motion?
That's my motion. So it's a motion that, it's 2 parts, real simple. One, move that we partner with Gray 50-50 on the truck, lease, and then that we also get our 5 units on the same leasing program.
But we don't know what Gray's 50-50 is. That's my hesitation.
He just said 860,000. Worst case scenario, it is at $17,000 a month for 5 trucks. If it's $3,000 or $6,000, we're at 23 grand.
If that was just pumpers, that wasn't.
Right.
Right.
Right. I was just throwing a number out there.
Right.
And if a unit $437,000. If the unit was double that, that's $874,000. I'm just going to double the $3,000 or $3,500 to $6,000 or $7,000. So at $7,000 a month, which is double our unit, we're covering our cost for their unit. So instead of $17,000 a month, we might have another $7,000, $24,000 a month. So we can say up to $7,000 a month for a lease. To me, it's not a debate. We decided we're going to do it. It's just a matter of making a decision to do it.
I found the numbers exactly. Not interrupting you. You would want to hear this. This is the cheapest lease that I can find out there. These are brand new Pierce Sabre pumpers, 5 of them. It's $2.1 million. 7 payments. The first payment will come 12 months after delivery. 7 payments, 1 payment a year at $256,804.76. At the end of the 7 years, if you want the trucks, it'll be $720,000 and some cents. If you want the trucks, turn in the trucks if you don't want them. Ask for 5 new ones, and they will credit the $720 to those trucks.
So that's basically $4,500 a month per truck. And if Grady's truck was twice as much, we're looking at an extra $9,000. So 31.
Have you priced out a lease on yours?
On the lease, it's still gonna be right at the same percentage rate as what he's got. The cost of the unit was $860. That was without the interest and all included on it. Everything else is pretty much the same lease-wise.
The 5 trucks you were figuring, all for the county, or 4 for the county and 1 for the city? On that 5?
All for the county.
All right. So you'll be adding a 6th truck on that.
Well, the one I can't add into that. It'll be 1, which is the wreckage, and then the 5 new ones.
All right, well, you clear on the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, while we got a motion, do we have a second on the motion? No second. Second failed. The motion failed. And I'd like to know some more numbers. I think it's great. Commissioner Kitchen had a great idea to share with us about teaming with the city and doing a lease partnership. Maybe everybody getting trucks. I mean, to put 5 new trucks in this county would be great. I don't
It'd
think
be
anybody in the back
tremendous.
would feel one bit, because all I've heard is about how bad we need trucks, and this would be great. I don't feel comfortable not knowing exactly where we're at. I'd like to have more information and see what would happen if the city possibly reach out to Monroe, Putnam, and see if there's an interest there, that if the more the merrier, maybe we can get even a better group with more. You never can tell. But I'm still open for discussion. Commissioner Robinson, you got anything?
I like the idea of a committee, Don and Keith and some more knowledgeable folks, that are updated on all this equipment. And as Sam had mentioned, and you too, looking at other counties also to possibly get the lease payments down. It may be a big help for our adjacent county. But I go along with all that.
Commissioner Kitchen?
Well, first of all, Joe, I don't think, and I'm just being honest, I don't think 50/50 is a fair deal for anybody, especially not us, when, our service delivery strategy is not 50/50, so I don't think that would be a feasible percentage rate on anything. Even on leases, we wouldn't expect them to partner with us on leases at 50%. If we're basically 80/20 on our service delivery, I would think if we get 5 trucks, 4 for the county and 1 for the city, by my math, the county would be paying $51,000 a month. City would be paying, $4,100 a month, I think it is. But that's a true lease. I think that was a lease purchase that y'all were looking at, right?
Correct.
So we're talking about interest rates and all, and I mean, yeah, that's, I don't think that's a viable, thing to do there. I think we do need to look at it. I mean, the other numbers we need to know are, how much maintenance are we doing on our vehicles now? I think the committee needs to come up with, you know, where is our highest priority as far as needs for the vehicle? Where's our highest use of the vehicle? What is our maintenance cost right now? Because you can absolutely deduct every penny of that maintenance cost from your lease cost. You know, I would venture to say, for every 5 trucks, we're knocking a dent in $51,000 a month on maintenance
I'm
costs.
signing the checks. I see a lot of,
Yeah, so that $51,000 a month is not, you know, just a out-and-out cost to us. But I thought we were in agreement that we wanted to partner because we wanted this to be a viable solution to all of our needs. I can appreciate Commissioner Martin's sentiments on wanting to partner. I can't support 50-50 on something we don't know about.
We just need a lot more information.
sure. We've got several people signed in too. Is there any, I mean, I'm not pushing y'all off, but is there anything else? I mean, I think seriously, Commissioner Kittens has already, said he would like to be on the committee. The two of y'all, if you can reach out to the city as far as committee, that we can come back with some, you know, ideas and numbers that, I'll be honest with you, not knowing numbers, I don't feel comfortable either. I'm all for it. I like that lease idea that, you know, every 7 years we're putting 5 new trucks out for these, you know, volunteers to make runs on.
And Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, my 50/50 was on their truck only, so we're clear. Because I think it doesn't matter at some point, they're all the same citizens, and we talk, that's a very good game to talk about. The reality is that the city of Gray constituents have already paid their fair share of taxes, and for the city to have to come up with even more of that when a truck benefits not only the city but the county, to me doesn't make much sense. So that's why the 50/50 on their lease keeps it simple. Whatever the cost is, we know they got to get it done. I mean, we spend money on a number of things, and when it comes to fire protection, I don't care whose truck shows up. Please show up, because I've seen 2 house fires in my lifetime here in 19 years, and I thank our fire department for coming.
Anything else? Tim?
The main thing we're looking at right now is just time frame. Of course, the ladder truck that we have now is down.
Right.
And that does affect our ISO rating, along with one of the engines that we have was down with the pump capacity from 1,000 to 750. So that also affects the ISO rating within the city.
All right. Well, we thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say one
Sure.
other thing. I just don't want to miss out on that 5th wagon.
Next meeting, make sure it's on. You can come
Right.
back.
What I'm getting at is, I said I needed 5 trucks, not talking about the one that's wrecked,
Right.
but replacing 5 others. And now we're talking 4 and giving 1 to the city.
Sound like you need 6 instead of 5.
It's going to be tough.
Right now, we're talking about 1.
Right.
Replacing the one.
Right. It's been a headache. I tell you, I just.
So, I mean, I'm just questioning, if you're gonna do 5, won't you do 6? I mean, sweet, I heard sweeting about it. I mean, you're talking 5 plus the one we know we have to replace, so if you're gonna do 5 under a lease, what's gonna be
Don says he'll buy all we approve.
oh, I know that. But we got budget time coming too, so,
And we got to remember we've got Splosh in the next year or so too,
and we're at a vulnerable time. We're going
Yes, sir.
into budget to see what we've got, so,
I'll forward all my paperwork to Jason,
sure,
and those are hard numbers, so they're real and certified. So
sure. All right, Mr. Crutchfield, you'd like to come forward and talk?
I think the chief has asked for most questions.
Oh, you done signed in now. You got to come up here.
Get up here and say. Name's James Crutchfield, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Let me say this. I don't know whether the question has been asked to anybody or not, but does Jones County really need a ladder truck, even on a 50-50 basis? I've been in the fire department for a little over 46 years now. Station 5. I can remember one time we could have used a ladder truck if we'd have had the water supply to hook it up. You got to have a water supply, gentlemen. If you don't have a water supply, ain't worth for two. We got very few places in this county that you've got water supply. I'm not against the water, not against the truck. Gentlemen from Gray, I love every one of them. But the county does not need a doggone ladder truck. It don't want it. It's not gonna help our ISO rating. What's gonna help our ISO rating is the trucks that Chief's got prices on. That'll help ours. I don't believe in going in 50-50 with nobody. Have we got a mutual aid agreement with Bibb County?
Yes, sir.
How many ladder trucks they got?
7 or 8.
By the time we get a ladder truck from Gray or Macon anywhere, it's gonna probably go on anyway, even if we can hook it up. Now, I'm not gonna say they don't need a ladder truck in Gray, because they got water supply and they got some buildings, they probably need one. But the county, we don't need one. Be nice as a luxury to have one, but we got other things we need besides a ladder truck. That's the first thing y'all need to decide. Does the county really need a ladder truck? We don't. Not at this time. Later on, down the road somewhere, we might. But at this time, we don't. But anyway, as the chief said, the newest truck we got is 21 years old. We got one truck that does not meet ISO requirements. We're using it. It'll put out a fire. You get down to the basics on it, it don't meet requirements. So we really need some engines for the county. 21 years old is a long time, gentlemen. And the truck they looked at from Chicago probably was a wonderful truck. 7 years old, Chicago, Illinois, salt and everything else been rolled hard and put up wet. I don't know about it. I'd have to look very close at it myself. But anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Mr. Collins?
Thank y'all for letting me speak tonight. I know some of you have never seen me before. I'm a career firefighter. Been a firefighter since 1972. I spent 18 years on the top ladder in Bibb County. I retired from there as a chief, so that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I would never say we don't need a ladder truck in Gray or Jones County, but we've got pages after pages of other things that we need more. You don't fight fire with a ladder truck. The perception of setting a ladder up and spraying water down, every one of you know, top of a building is built to shed water. The only time you're going to set that ladder up to put the fire out is after it's fallen in and you've given up and there's nothing to save. We don't have the water supply in the county to operate a ladder truck. I would a whole lot rather see the money spent on a ladder truck spent on infrastructure, extend some more water mains, put some more fire plugs out, or buy tanker trucks. We do a great job with what we got now. You don't know how much I enjoy being a member of the Jones County Fire Department. But right now, we need trucks. Our chief just told you how old our newest truck is. If we get the 5 trucks, one thing we probably need to look at is at the end of the lease, pay out 1 or 2 of them and spread them across the county and get 5 new ones next, or 3 new ones next time. We've got to start looking to replace them. We've got trucks now that it costs more to operate them than what you could pay for a new one. I mean, we take care of our equipment. Most of the repairs that are done on our trucks are done by the volunteers. last week, I spent 15 hours at the fire station as a volunteer. I would, like I say, I'd never say we don't need a ladder truck, but we need water mains, we need plugs, we need pumper trucks, we need tanker trucks, and we need more volunteers. And that is what's going to keep our community safe. You could spend what you're going to spend on a ladder truck and affect a whole lot more lives and save a whole lot more property by putting it in water supply. Nobody loves a ladder truck anymore than I do. Spent 18 years as a captain on a ladder truck. You don't fight house fires with a ladder truck. I've got some articles I'll bring y'all. They're little 2-page articles written by different firefighters across the country, and they talk about truckies. Well, I'm a truckie. I've been assigned to a ladder truck the majority of my life. The truck company has got their own specific jobs at a fire. Because we're volunteers and we don't have the luxury of the separate companies, we all take on the job of a ladder truck. We all become truckies. Truck company to go in for ventilation. They ventilate so you can get to the fire, ventilate so you can go in for rescue. The truck companies implement the rescue. The truck companies carry your heavy equipment to the fire. And they provide the outside processes so that the firefighters on the lines can go in and put the fire out. Had a big 2-story house on fire on 57 a month or two ago. 2 firefighters on the scene. I was one of them. Y'all can tell I'm not young as I used to be. Had one of our young guys in there that I'd worked with for many years. He took the line inside. I went on the roof and did the truck company job. We put that fire out with there was so little damage in that house. After the whole upstairs had been on fire, the insurance investigator called the chief to find out what happened. And we're doing the truck company job now. If we had more people, we could do it more efficiently, just like everything else. But right now, let's spend that money on firefighting equipment and not a ladder truck. I want to see so many things. You're talking about putting a committee together. I would love to be on that committee. If the chief would have me, I would love to help. I don't know how much knowledge, but a lot of years of experience. And I want to see us do what helps the most people in our community. Thank you for letting me talk.
Hey, we thank y'all for your input.
I got a quick question for him.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
If the College and Career Academy caught on fire, would a ladder truck be better suited for that or a regular truck?
What would you use the ladder truck for? That's the
I'm
problem.
not a fireman. I don't have a clue. They
That's
took me
my
out.
point
They took me out
exactly.
one time, and I enjoyed it. I had a blast. We almost went through a hole in somebody's house, but it was excellent. Second floor, College and Career Academy. Are we equipped to attack that fire?
Yes, sir. You'd have to make an interior attack without a ladder.
Okay. And I don't know how that building is set up in terms of entries.
I've
Yeah.
got a picture I took last night of one of our training sessions that would help answer that question for you.
Okay.
And I'd like to see y'all. The ladder truck, you don't, it's hard to explain to someone that's not familiar with the fire service.
Yeah.
But the ladder truck, that's what you get in mind when you think about a ladder truck. We trained last night. I took 2 trucks. I took a 1988 pumper. The one that's, pass it around, let everybody take a look at it. You worry about getting water up high? I can shoot water 100 foot with that 98 or 88 model fire truck. There's pictures of it last night. But you see 2 trucks? That one truck furnished all the water for those 2 trucks. We had a plug. Now, I was actually drafting out of our draft tank, but we filled the draft tank with the plug so we wouldn't run out of water. But the reaching heights with an engine, all of our engines have deck guns on them. They'll reach the same height as a ladder truck. Yes, we need a ladder truck. We probably need a college in Jones County. We need a hospital in Jones County. We could use an airport, but we all know those things are way down the line. We want everything to make Jones County as great as it can be, but we need to work on what we need the most and what would benefit the most people. And right now, I feel like a way to get water and people to the fire would benefit more people than anything we could spend money on in the fire service. I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
We just appreciate y'all's input. We appreciate everybody showing up. We appreciate y'all for what you do for this county.
Well, I was asked by several of the firefighters to speak tonight.
Sure.
I just want to see what's best for our community.
Sure.
Thank
Don,
y'all.
Don, if we can get.
Can I say this?
Absolutely.
I didn't promote this. I'm just letting you know. These guys are ready to go all the time, so.
Absolutely.
They believe in
And-
the company, and they believe in this county, and that's what puts this together.
Well, you've got 2 volunteers right now for a committee to get together, so figure out who all needs to be on that committee and let's search out what's gonna be best for all of us and y'all come back to us.
Yes, sir.
Everybody fine with that? Great. And we thank all of y'all, every one of you. All right, let's move on. 2020-5311 Department of Transportation Transit Agreement.
And we have not received that yet from GDOT, so we can skip
Okay, so we're
that.
waiting on that. Okay, we'll move on to 4 on our new business. Approval of salary study bid. Ms. Shannon?
I reached out to Morgan County. They're about the same size, and they just went through a salary study, and they sent back some numbers that are in your book. And I wanted to know if you want to move forward with a bid or RFP to do a salary study. And if so, just keep in mind that we need to budget for the study itself and for the changes that will need to be made when the study comes back.
Okay, that was, I got it. I saw it earlier.
Are these for all employees?
Yes.
How much does it cost for us to use the regional commission to do a salary study?
That's what prompted this. We did go to them, and I don't think that's what we're needing. I think we need something a little bit more in depth.
I got you. I was just curious what
Yeah.
it costs for us to do that.
I can't recall right offhand. I don't even think it costs anything.
I don't think it costs anything, but it wasn't what we asked for. You know, we asked for this and it wasn't what we expected.
Yeah.
So this is quotes at Morgan County.
Yes,
So we'd have to put it up for bid or,
right.
entertain a motion with your,
Absolutely, looking at this in the budget, I thought we were gonna have some, it's gonna be hard to budget now for an unknown. You know, I would say we look at what a 4% is or 8%, you know, we know what 4 or 8% is based on ours. So, but we don't know what this study's gonna bring out. Are we way off in some positions? Are we overpaid in some positions? You know, but 100% agree that if we're gonna pay money to find out what we need to be paying people, you know, we're doing a disservice if we don't fix it.
right.
So this is not just to find out that we're doing wrong. You know.
Right. Need to be prepared to fix it. Ms. Robinson, you wanna say anything? You just clear your throat.
I was clearing my throat, and I want to say something.
All right, well, you got my attention.
I'd like for us to go out for bid. Salary study for all employees.
Okay, well, we got a motion to go out to bid. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second? Any discussion? Ms. Martin, any discussion?
I'm just gonna say, earmark the money up to a certain dollar amount. We know 2 or 4%, I think it's 390,000, no, 2%'s 190, 4%'s 380, I think. Earmark it up to X amount of dollars, so we're covered if we're gonna do this study.
Brought a friendly amendment to it with an earmark, with a study with an earmark of 4% per employee.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, and no more discussion. Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it, thank you. We move on to number 5, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, because you got number 5 too, I don't want to, amendment to the retirement plan. Ms. Wagner?
I wanted y'all to take a look at the information that I sent earlier about right now in our plan, we have it that you can retire and continue working for Jones County, and the IRS, is classifying that as a sham retirement. And I just wanted y'all to take a look at it and see if you want to make any changes to the plan, to the policy. I know GABCOR is trying to move away from that kind of stuff.
I know I read all this, and it's, every time you turn around, it's saying two different things.
Right.
You had an opportunity to look at it?
I have.
What's your thoughts?
I think our current policy is bad policy. I think IRS seriously frowns upon it. I think if we're not careful, we could disqualify our entire plan. We could trigger IRS audit. The IRS has challenged rehires on numerous occasions, even as far out as 6 months after the termination date. We have in our plan where there's really no period of time. I mean, they can pretty much immediately come back, which is very much against all sort of policy that's in place, and that's why it's referred to as sham retirements. There's very few counties across the state that allow this. Our plan allows rehiring the retiree, but there can be no intent to return to work after retiring, and returning must be caused by exigent circumstances. And I don't think we do a good job of policing that, because a lot of times we have a retirement and then the employee's right back to work. And that does not fit that very narrow provision that allows us to rehire that retiree. And those circumstances have to not be anticipated at the time that the employment was terminated. A court would look at, if it were to be challenged, would look at any agreements in place with the employee at the time for them to return to work and the time between their termination and the rehire. But again, the IRS has challenged up to 6-month separation periods because it is so frowned upon. And that's why very few places are still allowing this policy that we have in place, because it's seeking, so many challenges have been made to it. The IRS is very suspicious of it, and because of the detrimental effect it would have if it triggered our audit or disqualified our entire plan.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm curious, because until tonight, I'd never heard of sham retirement. So I just Google searched it real quick, and right here it's talking about what are the rules regarding firing an employee, allowing that person to take a distribution from the 401k account. Is that a valid distribution? So just so I'm clear, are we talking about terminating people or people that retire and then come back?
When they retire and then come back as an employee.
Right, because I know my dad built submarines for 44 years. He retired in April, and by August, his company was giving him the opportunity to come back. This is General Dynamics. So,
Well, I'll
45
tell you, unless there's a provision,
Right.
we have in our plan, and we're one of the few places that does a provision that allows the rehire. Unless you have that, it is prohibited by IRS code.
Okay, is that just county governments? Because corporate America seems to do it okay. I'm just curious.
County governments do it, but I've never seen one that don't have some kind of separation time.
Right.
Most of them are a minimum of 3 months, most of them are 6 months. So when you retire, 3 to 6 months, you can come back, but
Yeah.
you have a choice at that time. You can't come back and extend your years of service, your
Right.
tenure. You can't double dip on the benefit side of it in any way. So if you
Right.
retire with benefits, you can't take them when you come back, all that kind of stuff. So I think we do need to change that in our policy.
I mean, our policy has no period of separation requirement, and it completely runs afoul of the requirement that they can only be rehired if there's exigent circumstances not present at the time of their retirement or the termination of their employment. It completely runs afoul of that, and that's a part of the little narrow provision that allows us to rehire to start with. And so I think it's a very dangerous provision that we've got in place currently.
So we're talking about implementing a 3 to 6 month wait period for rehire.
And do
Or-
away with the exigent.
Or not at
Clause
all. I
in
mean,
there.
Or not at all.
yeah, most places, yeah.
Not rehire employee?
Like have a bona fide retirement.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And not rehire a retired employee.
Right.
I think that puts us at a disadvantage because I can see lots of situations where the experience and the knowledge of an employee, that's like penalizing, to me, it's penalizing somebody for getting to an age and a years of service that they can retire. 6 months, they might decide they don't want to retire. I understand the premise of it is not, you don't want to retire just to start drawing your retirement so you can get that check now and come back and get another check is what they're trying to prevent.
Was
But-
receiving favorable tax treatment sort of fraudulently.
But at the end of the day, we decide whether we hire somebody or not. So we don't have to hire every retiree that wants to apply for a job. But if we, have somebody that's in a specific job that's doing a great job and they retire, and we fill that position when they leave, then we don't have a need for that person. But if we don't fill it for 6 months and we can't find anybody, and they say, well, I'm willing to come back and help you out, we've just cut our own feet off to. I see that there's gotta be some separation, and there's probably gotta be some ordinance to it, but I wouldn't think we need to not allow us to.
We
hire
even have our
anybody.
employees sign forms that say they have no intentions of returning to work.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't even state, I'm retiring and can
Right.
continue to work.
And immediately they're coming back to work. Clearly, there were intentions,
Well, I think that's because our policy don't have a set timeline in there.
which
I
is
mean,
gonna get us in trouble.
Yeah, we definitely need that, I think, but I mean, Macon Bibb had 6 months before consolidation, I think they went to 3 months in consolidation, and I can give you half a book full of people that retired during consolidation and returned, to go to work, but.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation would be at least 6 months.
Okay. Any questions? I see you.
I'm just thinking
Nobody's
about
turning.
school
Okay.
teachers and other folks that have retired and come back to work, and I know it's happened so many times. So, I'm okay 3 to 6. I'm not okay with no, you can't ever come back, because I think there's a wealth of knowledge that goes out. And school teachers are case in point. I mean, came in at 22, retired at 55, got home and realized, I want to go back. So I think 3 is reasonable. 6 is probably as far as I would go out.
I think you have to be able to defend it in court. If somebody retires, you have to be able to say, well, they had a sufficient retirement period to be able to defend against, there were really no intentions to start with to come back. It was a true retirement. And 3 months is, I would just say, is going to be a very short period when you look at some of the IRS cases that they have gone after. They've gone after, like I said, even 6 month periods, but 3 months is a very short period because this provision is very much frowned upon by code.
Mr. Ross?
What would this do to employees that are already retired and back at work?
Yeah, that was my next question.
I don't think we could make it retroactive, so it would not affect them. It would be from this point
Right.
forward.
Well, you've heard the recommendation of our attorney. Have I got somebody like to make a motion on her recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, could I jump in just real
Sure.
quick? Ultimately, GEBCOR, who administers our retirement program, will have to draft an amendment based on kind of y'all's direction, and then bring that amendment back before you for considerations. I don't know if you would want to have somebody from GEBCOR come and maybe if they could come to our next meeting and y'all could give them feedback and ask questions of them about how to structure this and because they'll have to draft an amendment to have before you. Just a suggestion.
And I think ACCG would have what are other counties doing?
Right.
And I'm out on the IRS website, and there's a different set of rules for people who are under 62, so.
Yeah,
are we gonna-
that's different.
Okay, so we're gonna have two policies, one for under 62 and one for over? Or we're just gonna have a flat policy?
No, it would be, it's different
Okay.
because it's what they qualify if they're under 62 versus over 62.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, just wanna make sure. All right. Thank you. Love smartphones.
We need a motion to have Jeff Core come in and look at our current policy and based on recommendations of our attorney.
Have them come in and give us some options and discussion, and then bring us a policy back to
I
vote.
mean, I believe ACCG has even sort of advised us against our current policy, and the danger associated with that.
Yeah, there was,
So,
You've got that in the motion, Commissioner Kitchen? All right, do I
You
have
got
a
it?
second?
So moved, Chairman.
Oh, you got a motion?
She did.
All right, we got a second?
Second.
Second. Don't confuse Miss Shannon there, she's doing a good job. She ain't slapped me yet, so I'm all right. Any more discussion, all in favor, aye? Aye. Ayes have it, thank you. All right, we move on to 6 tonight. We've got award bid for outdoor basketball court at Matty Wells Community Center.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We went out for bid and took a little while to get them all back, but we got 6 bids that range anywhere from $21,400 up to $39,000. I'll make a recommendation tonight to go with Middle Georgia Hydro Seating. It's a local company, Mr. Jim Scales, and I recommend going $21,450 for labor and material.
Now, that includes goals, everything, or just, what all does that include?
That would include concrete, pouring, finishing, installation of the goals, yes, sir.
So I mean, that's everything, then, that's goals.
The installation of the poles, we would put the backboards and rims on.
Okay.
Is this one court or two?
One.
What size?
It'd be a full-size court, 90 feet by 50. 90 feet long, 50 foot wide.
Well, only thing, I saw the one, I had a couple, I questioned why, and I actually made a call, wanted to know why they didn't bid on it. They said they didn't know about it. Could have been something overlooked too.
Are we, that comes up to another subject. Are we just putting it on our website? Are we using vendor registry? Are we advertising it?
I think they're
It-
doing vendor registry.
it goes on vendor registry, it goes on the state procurement website, which is the Georgia Procurement Registry. It goes in the newspaper, and then it's, there's a link on our website to the vendor registry site.
And I'm not trying to recruit now, I just said, the gentleman told me that he'd been receiving emails in the past on bids, and
Yeah.
he said he didn't get anything on this one, it was concerning
That's
him.
part of the learning curve. We're telling everybody to go on vendor registry, and then you get a ping every time something that
Right.
you do for a living comes up.
Sure.
That's
The-
a big,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. One of the challenges with the vendor registration part of it and with the listing part of it on there is that site is based on a standardized list of government purchasing codes. And I mean, there are thousands of them. And so the emails that you get, you have to have signed up for the right things that we listed under. And we try to list it under lots of different things so that we cast a wide net. But there, may have been somebody that was missed there. But yeah, anybody here, encourage them to sign up for the website, and you can always keep an eye on that website. They're always, you can access them on that website even if you're not a registered vendor.
I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if we do have excess funds, because I don't know what the exact dollar amount, obviously our bids are a little over the place, and maybe if someone, if only the $39,000 group had bid, would we have been able to fund that? And if there is funding enough in where the SPLOST account or where we have these resources, I would ask that we do two, and I'll pay for the goals on the second one.
We only put out for one, and
We only put out for one, and based on these numbers, we got another bid we're gonna talk about in just a minute. As of right now, we have 126 in the SPOS. We have this one, then we have another bid on item number 7 that, if both of these were approved tonight, would take that 126 down to 16.
we did vote for one court.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot y'all did whittle it down to one.
Mr. Chairman, I got to ask about the $300,000 that was voted on in SPOS for a track, and why some kind of track hadn't been built already over there. I think you had suggested a hiking track or bicycle track, or,
That's been an ongoing discussion as far as,
well, that's $300,000 is just sitting there,
Well,
close to 300.
in the conversations, and again, everybody debates what this is or what this isn't. I love to play it back. It was an 8-lane competitive track. It wasn't a walking trail. It wasn't a biking trail. It was specifically a running track. And I even asked y'all to play it back on the recordings. And in the spirit of what was spoken in the meeting, that's what should have went on the ballot, and that's what we should be funding.
well, back to the basketball court. We did vote to go out to bid for one court. And we've got recommendation from Mr. Goins on going to lowest bid. Do I have a motion to accept this lowest bid and go forward?
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Of course, I have to second it.
I was wondering. You gonna second it?
I have to.
All right.
It's
We have a
not right,
second.
but I'm
Any
gonna
more
accept
discussion?
I can't support it until that money for that track is used.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ross. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. We have one. Get a basketball court built. We did vote for one.
Y'all sad, man.
You killing me.
You got adults and kids, man. You're gonna put them on one court. Come on, man.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Award, lighting improvement for Morse.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Goins?
So we went out for bid for this also. We had 3 bidders come in. And when the bids came in, and when we went out for bid, we went out for a request for a proposal, not for an actual bid with a scope of work. So there was not apples for apples being bidded.
Sure.
So we reached out to Charles Cobb, the gentleman who had our lighting designed for our Morris Recreation Complex. He came in as a third independent party, third unbiased party, and looked over all of our bid packages, and he narrowed it down to 2. The 2 that he narrowed it down to was Over and Under Contractors and Middle Georgia Electric. And of those 2, we then had me and Mr. Jason, Mr. Charles Cobb, and Tim Ingram had a conference with each one individually. Mr. Cobb asked a boatload of questions, some that were above mine and Jason's head. And he took notes, took into account. He came back with his recommendation after his independent study. And there is a difference in the dollar figures that you see here. The difference is Over and Under came with $55,478.89. Middle Georgia Electric came in at $89,242. The reason that is Over and Under was not replacing the same amount of lights that Middle Georgia Electric was replacing. So Mr. Cobb went in and did the math to try to make them come up equal. And that, along with some other factors that he determined throughout the meeting. One of the biggest ones was the company that Over and Under was trying to use as a lighting company. He cannot find any specs anywhere where that light is built, where it's manufactured. Yes, there's a place where it's wholesaled, but he can't find any kind of warranty or anything from that particular company. So anyway, long story short, our third-party independent consultant came back and said he recommends, and I think this is in your binder, Middle Georgia Electric for $89,242.
Any questions from?
Our budget was 90-something on that, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Mr.
We
Robinson?
beat this horse senseless, Chairman. If we don't have any conversation, I'll make a motion to approve it.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second? Second. Second. Any more discussion? None, all in favor, aye? Aye.
Opposed?
3 and 1. Thank you, sir. Financing resolution, Snyder Electric. Mr. Resner, you doing that tonight?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So we're working towards closing of our Schneider Electric energy efficiency upgrade project. And these are just some documents that are related to the closing of the financing there. We're working with Morris Bank on that and hope to have it closed within the next 30 days. So what you have before you for approval is the equipment lease purchase agreement. And then you have the resolution of the board authorizing the execution of that agreement. So if there aren't any questions, I would recommend approval of the resolution and authorizing the chairman to sign this and any other documents related to the closing.
Any question for Mr. Resner? Not, I entertain a motion.
I gotta do them all. I'll make a motion to approve, Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second? Second. Second. No more discussion, all in favor, aye? Aye. Ayes have it. Setting tentative millage rate for advertisement purposes. We're wearing you out tonight, Ms. Mayor.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine. So you'll recall from previous years, about this time, we have to develop various advertisements related to the budget process and related to the millage rate setting process. In some of those ads, you have to advertise what millage rate you are proposing to adopt. And so I'm coming to you tonight asking you essentially what millage rate you would like to advertise. And I understand we're very early in the budget process and that kind of thing, but just due to the timing in the newspaper and that kind of thing, we have to ask you to do this at this time. My recommendation to you is to go with the millage rates that we've used last year. And you can always come down from the advertised rate. If you saw fit to go above it, you have to restart the process. So my recommendation to you would be to go with the current rates, which are 16.197 in the unincorporated areas and 17.649 for the incorporated areas. And again, this is just tentative for advertising purposes. This is not.
And based on your projections, we're good.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We did swap sides of the room
Thank
for
you,
a change. That's great. No more discussion, all in favor, aye?
There's a little discussion, sir.
Oh, you did have discussion?
Yeah.
Oh. you
So,
were-
good question.
Generally, you look at me when you want
I
to.
was looking, you were over there smiling. You were
Oh,
happy.
I'm sorry.
So at 16.197 for unincorporated and 17.69, what does that yield in terms of actual revenue?
So the digest amounts are shown there in your handout. So these are the total digest amounts. So you have to.
I wasn't sure if you had a whole number for me.
Yeah, I sure don't.
So I can add these up here.
You would take that times the 0.4, and then do it times the millage rate.
Okay.
Our budget for property tax income for the coming years, it's about $10,400,000-ish.
Last year's budget was about, what, 21 million?
It's about a total budget.
All right. And we anticipate the same or more this year.
So revenue from property taxes, this year we anticipate about 215,000 more than the prior year.
All right, so an increase. So theoretically, we could roll back the millage rate 1/4 of a point?
Yeah, that's about a third.
Okay.
All right. Any more? All right.
One more.
One more, go.
One more. And last year, we had a surplus of about $1 million. We allocated about $300,000 to raises, so we had about $700,000 extra. Plus $200,000 extra gives us about $900,000. Theoretically, $1.25 million we could roll back. Close.
That's about right.
Okay. I'm good.
All right. Once again, all in favor, aye?
Opposed.
3 and 1.
I'd recommend a millage rate rollback.
Well, we can do it after the fact. I mean, we can come down at.
I got you.
Okay. We got that. We got 3 and 1. Okay. Land Bank Authority, Commissioner Martin?
Land bank, real quickly, Sam knows more about land banks than I do, but I know in Macon Bibb, when we have dilapidated property and other opportunities for development, the land bank can have possession, purchase, and acquire property for the benefit, economic development, or blight removal. And I know we have some blighted areas, especially in the Highway 49 area, that we could benefit from a land bank. And then from a pure economic development standpoint, if there are properties that make sense to include in our inventory for economic development or to not have issues when we need right-of-ways for water, sewer, plugs, et cetera, it would make sense for us to form a land bank and then acquire these properties. One of the biggest issues we have right now are dilapidated properties in my area. If we're able to buy these properties or acquire them back from owners, we can return them back to the rolls for investors like ourselves and others who invest in the community and make those properties better. My concern, even along with fire and safety, is the safety of our children. But we also know that dilapidated houses bring down the value of nearby homes. So the whole idea is to have this land bank to help resolve that issue and then help us to again, increase tax opportunities by returning those properties back to the market. So with that being said, I know there's a lot more work to do it, and I'm just going to ask that we enlist Jason and the Regional Commission, whomever we need to start the process of forming a land bank.
We have a motion.
I move that we start the process of having a land bank in Jones County.
Discussion?
Discussion?
Agree 100% that we need a land bank, just from what I've seen in Macon Bibb. I don't know that we have the revenue stream to maintain it. One other option would be to join an existing land bank and offer them a portion of the revenue that they put back on the tax rolls to help pay for, because you're talking about fees for title search and clearing of all this kind. I mean, there's 3 or 4 staff members it's going to take. I don't know that we'll put enough dilapidated or blighted properties back on the tax rolls to increase our revenue enough to sustain that department in a county of 28,000 people. If we partner with, just say, Macon Bibb for the land bank and say, hey, you know, you clear our titles, you get them back on the tax rolls, and you get a percentage of, you know, however we do it in an intergovernmental agreement, but pay for their service to do that. Absolutely, the land bank is a way to clear titles and get these properties back on the tax rolls. And so everyone that's sitting there now not paying, anybody paying taxes on it, that's just more money in our coffers to be able to, and it clears up the property. So I just think an option ought to be to look at joining an existing one that may be sustainable.
Then I would amend the motion to say I move that we look at forming our own, as well as do an intergovernmental agreement with Macon for the obvious economies of scale and benefits.
So you want to look into our options, is what your motion is? I'm trying to clarify for me, you want to look into the options of the land bank? I kind of want to know what we're.
Right, so I would love for us to do our own land bank. I don't know the true expenses, as Sam would say. I know we already do taxes and we have 2 tax departments. So for us, I don't think the expense would be as great as Macon in terms of title search and so on. Not to mention we have a staff attorney who's familiar with some of that. And I'd rather pay her by the hour than pay the city of Macon, personally speaking.
She's smiling over here.
All right, so, because she likes money.
I don't like the way he's talking.
Exactly. So from that perspective, I would love for Jones County to have its own land bank. That would be my first priority.
We have a motion that you'd love to have land bank.
Absolutely.
Second, the motion to look at the process of creating or partnering with a land bank.
All right, so we're just looking at creating.
And if it would be helpful, I don't mind reaching out to Make and Bibb to really get some more of the
Right.
legal logistics behind
Because
creation.
I'm pretty
and-
sure it was a legislative action that created it.
Right.
And I don't know if we have to have that same legislation to even join one, so.
Right.
And that gives us time before the next session ends and the next one begins to be prepared.
I'll look
So-
into it.
Excellent.
It says, so we're looking into the possibility of a land bank, what we're doing. I just want, because I don't know what I'm committing to. That's why I'm trying to clarify for myself. We're
Jones
looking
County
at-
will have a land bank.
Huh?
Yes, Jones County will have a land bank.
We're looking into the opportunity. We're not actually voting the land bank in.
I think if we have, look, fine, we'll look into it.
Okay,
That'll
that's
be
fine.
better for you.
Like I said, I want to know, because I don't know what kind of money we're talking about. I have no problem looking to land bank, because this is something
Money
new I
right
just
there.
learned
Yeah,
last.
if we roll back 2 meals, it's gonna be hard to,
Hello, we got it.
Okay. You understand, we're looking into the land bank. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Now that we're clarified, especially for me, like I just learned about the land bank here, and I've lost a lot of opportunities here lately not knowing about it.
Tell me about it.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. No old business. Department head. Who wants to start tonight? See, both of you rock forward.
So I got a couple things. First one. I went to a grant class last Thursday and Friday for Department of Natural Resources. And they had two grants that we talked about over the 2 days. One was a stewardship grant. Pretty in-depth situation. I think it's something that we would definitely have to get the regional commission on board with. I don't know that this cycle is something that we can really jump on board with the stewardship because the amount of work that has to go into it, because those projects are a lot larger and they focus on regionalism. And again, so that's something we would need to sit down with them and confer over. However, one I think we can take advantage of is Recreational Trails Program, what they refer to as RTP. And it can go up to $200,000. It does require a 25% match. So if we were to go after a $200,000 trail grant, we would have to be willing to match $50,000. Now, I reached out to some ideas, and some ideas would be bike trails on some of our existing properties, possibly revitalizing the Jake Woods area, even possibly looking at some type of project down on the river, creating like a river walk or something of that nature. These are all things that fall into the RTP grant, and something that we could definitely look into getting into this cycle. This cycle opens September 1st, closes November the 15th. The pre-application process for this one isn't as intense as the stewardship one is. So these run in opposite years of the land water conservation grant. So this year they're doing the recreational trails and stewardship. Next year they go back and do the land and water conservation, which is how we got some money for it for our playground. So there's grants you can jump out there every year. So tonight what I'm bringing up for you with this particular grant is for the board to discuss amongst yourself and decide what area. You can only do one area per cycle. So what area you would like to try to tackle for this year's grant cycle for recreation trails. So that's all I'm bringing as far as that, and I'd be glad to answer any questions or if there is any.
Any questions, Mr. Cohen?
If you do bike trails, can you do it across the county, even if they're like separated just a little bit?
That would be considered two different projects.
Gotcha.
I think that's gonna be our problem too, is finding connectivity for a bike trail, because that would be my thought too. The other one, I like the Jake Woods option, because we've talked about that with the Historic Society for some time now, about revitalizing it. I think it brings tourism in. That is a big enough track we could even make a walking trail. I don't know about the historical side of it or the environmental side, if they would allow for a bike trail, probably just walking trails ought to be allowed on that, but I think that's a good fit. It's a big enough project, $200,000 will make a difference.
Yeah, I like Highway 49, the Matty Wells Gym area on that 29 acres, cruising around the exterior. I know we've talked about the chairman going out there on a big piece of equipment and cutting a trail for biking. So whichever one makes the most sense and gets the most utilization, Jake's Woods or Matty Wells.
So
That would be
the next meeting, we can.
That would
We
be
got time.
y'all's, that would be y'all's decision, yes, sir.
We'll put that on.
Just
the
to
next
tell
meeting.
me which direction to go.
All right.
Maybe reach out to the regional commission on the Jake Woods, because I know there's been a lot of work done on it, and just see if that project, if that's a $700,000 project, we know we can't do it. But if it's something we can do over on 49 and make that a nice outdoor
Track.
classroom, walking trail, track, whatever you want to call it. And maybe another, add a basketball goal in there, we could call it a day.
Second thing is this Saturday we're having Bands in the Sand. Again, it starts at 11 a.m., goes to 10 p.m. We have a lot going on, so I'm inviting y'all in the community to come out and enjoy. We're having a Dunkin' booth. The chairman's going to come get in the Dunkin' booth again. I've asked Jason; he hadn't quite came on board yet. So, Chairman, I'm going to let you talk him into getting in the Dunkin' booth.
I'm in there. If y'all want to take out your frustrations on me, I'll be in the Dunkin' booth on Saturday.
But we will have a bunch of inflatables. We'll have a magic show at 4 o'clock, so bring your kids or grandkids for the magic show. We'll have live music after the magic show, and it's just going to be a fun day. We're going to have some big trucks for a big truck show, so it's going to be a good, fun day. All please come out and enjoy.
Where's that at, Matt?
It is at Morse Bank Recreation Complex.
Miss Jennifer, would you like to come up? My excuse, so we should have went ladies first. But.
Is it okay? Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to make y'all aware of a change in our hours of operation. This doesn't
Okay.
cost the county anything. In fact, it actually benefits our citizens in being able to, come before or, after work, making it a little bit more accessible. It also allows for scheduling of our employees a little bit better.
I like the addition of the horse. You accommodate horses now with.
Yes, we're quite proud of that.
That's great. Any questions for Miss Jennifer?
On the day that you're talking about being closed, you would still have emergency services available if
Yes,
somebody.
we would still be on call.
Okay. I do like the Saturday, I do like the times better.
All right, that's great. The animal shelter's looking great. We appreciate what y'all doing there. Had a lot of compliments.
And kudos to, who was it that dropped off all the dog food?
Yes,
Yeah. Thanks to that company, 500 pounds of dog food, that was awesome.
yes, we did thank them on our page, and
Right.
yes.
Great.
Make sure you advertise this.
Hey, we thank you.
Thank you.
I want to invite you fellows to our annual volunteer appreciation dinner that's this Saturday evening. We're breaking bread at 5 o'clock, so you can come and eat, and then y'all can go back out to the bands and in the sand thing. And I think the headliner was Grapevine, and that's going to be later on, like 8 or 9 o'clock. So you have plenty of time, and we're going to be giving out some awards and stuff like that. I want to go back to the engine that we're going to be replacing, the one that was wrecked. As soon as I get word from ACCG and we receive the check, can we move as quickly as possible? There's 3 engines that are out there that are demonstrators that are on the going down the assembly line right now. One will spit out in October and 2 in November. So if we get out the bid, and I just want to move expedite. If we can, I just want to put that in there as soon as we get the check. So I'm looking for the check next week.
All right, great. Thank you. Mr. Resner?
Two things I was going to mention real quick. One, you may recall, it was quite a while ago, and I can't remember when exactly, but the board approved applying for a historic resources survey grant through the Department of Natural Resources. We were talking at that time about doing a survey of all the historic properties in the county, properties over a certain age would all be included, and it'd be a pretty large task. And at that time, I think the estimate was somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000 to survey the whole county. I think it was closer to $100,000. We have been approved for a grant, but it was only $6,000. So it wouldn't go very far in terms of surveying the county. And even if you went with a phased approach where you broke it out into 4 phases, I mean, we're still on the hook for close to $20,000 for a single phase. So, I just wanted to mention that to you. I don't think it's feasible for us to accept it at this point. I'll still meet with the DNR folks and get whatever information I can, but unless y'all tell me otherwise, I'll probably just politely decline at this point. It may be where I talk to them and they say, you can narrow it down to a certain area and the $6,000 goes a long way. Based on what I know at this point, I don't think that's the case, but I'll keep you posted on that if that's okay, and we may just have to turn down that money. I hate to turn down free money, but and the other thing that I was just going to mention to you, and I can get with all of you individually on this, is just trying to find some dates to do some budget hearings. So we're ready to get those going and look forward to that process.
Next week, I'm gonna be out of pocket, so that'll be the only. My wife's already threatened me if I drive back from vacation again I might get my neck wrong this time.
Shouldn't have booked it.
Huh? Yeah, okay.
You just went 4 years ago.
She said, you better not drive back from vacation to meeting and go all the way back again. She, this is family week. Yes, ma'am. I want 36 more years, any way possible. Brody, see you rubbing baby girl over here. You're scaring me.
She must have enjoyed this meeting because she's moving all around.
You got anything tonight?
I don't, thank you though.
Ms. Wagner? No. All right, move on to citizen comments. Anybody like to come forward tonight? So for the record, if you state your full name and address, and we appreciate you for your service. I'm looking at anybody else in this room with the military.
My name's Carl Zimmer. Dale and I have had quite a few arguments on Facebook, but tonight I agree with you 100%.
We need your address.
Oh, address, yes.
Oh.
Address for the record.
Okay. I'm here to speak about the ladder truck. As a county resident.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for the record, we
Oh,
have to
I'm
have
sorry,
your
Carl
address.
Zimmer, 182 Estelle Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
I was gonna get
Nervous.
before we got through.
As a county taxpayer, I agree wholeheartedly the county fire department definitely needs to upgrade their equipment. Some of it's old, and there's some other improvements that certainly could be made to improve the ISO rating of everyone here in the county. And that includes some water that you all talked about tonight, maybe improving the water system, those kind of things, as well as trucks. And that brings us to our ladder truck. ISO also recognized that we really do need a ladder truck to service the city. I'm going to go through my notes here. I came from a very large fire department when I moved down here, Prince George's County. Don came from Montgomery County, so he can attest to that. At our station, we had 2 engines and a tower, 100-foot tower. We ran those trucks quite a bit. I've seen the use of a tower, 100-foot ladder. Matter of fact, the biggest fire I ever was on was a school. That school required 4 alarms, which was 4 ladder trucks. And each one of those was utilized on that fire. Here in the city, we have a lot of county assets. We've talked about bringing the truck into the county and being used in the county. But right here in the city, we have those assets already that you all own. And that includes 5 schools, the courthouse, the jail, and even this building right here that we service. So the question of, and water supply and that, we have that water supply capability here in the city. The truck is also a pumper. We left that off. Everybody just thinks it's a ladder. We call it a stick. Everybody thinks it's just that, but it's also a spec with a pump. So it does count for that as well. So it can be utilized either way. In addition to that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. It comes with a full ladder complement. As I drive down Cumslow Road a few times here this last weekend, the new school, the new high school, or the new parts of the high school, our ladder truck that we had when it did work would never reach that. We would even have trouble reaching the courthouse to do anything with that. Also, the ladders on our truck are too short to even climb up on the roof. We had to do that from external. Ladder truck, you're getting a 35-foot ladder as well. So there's complements of ladders that come with that, and tools. Some of those tools include extrication tools, which will also be carried on that truck. So it has a lot of good uses to it. Our trucks, I've had somebody discuss on Facebook how our trucks were new. Well, I'll tell you right now, we're in need of some fire trucks too. City, we've already been in discussion with the city council about that. Our oldest truck is a 1985. Our newest truck is a 1994. And we have a 1991 truck as well. So I just want to throw those comments out. And as far as that goes, and many people fail to forget, or they keep forgetting that the city residents pay county taxes. And I was almost going to stand up and cheer when you said that, because that is a fact. I don't live in the city, but I don't think it's fair to city residents that they get pushed aside on everything that's done. They're county residents as well. So not only with this truck would you get the ladder, you'd also get the pumper as well. So that would be an additional pumper to the five or six that you already want. So 7 pumpers right there. So that's what I had to say.
Well, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else tonight? No, we'll start with commissioner comment. Who wants to start tonight?
I'll start, Chairman. I think it's a perfect opportunity. We're talking about, had 2 different people tonight talk about water needs throughout the city and the county. We've talked about it several different times about the water needs. I think it's time for us to face the facts that our costs were like $11 million to do what we needed to have the east side of the county and the west side of the county with enough water to supply the residents and the firemen. We're probably never going to have $11 million in our bank account to fund something like that. And it seems like we keep kicking the can down the road of how are we going to fund it, how are we going to fund it. Internally, we've talked about SPLOST, we've talked about loans, we've talked about grant money, we've talked about partnering with different people in different ways, taking money out of the budget, doing this, doing that. We still hadn't got any closer since the day I took office of getting water down Graham Road to complete that loop, or down 49 to complete that loop. And we got to get there. So I don't know when the appropriate time, but I'm going to propose that we use $500,000. We dedicate $500,000 of our taxes towards these kind of projects. We've looked at the numbers. We need about $350,000 a year continuous to be able to fund the whole project on Graham Road and the whole project on 49, and to keep us running. We're not doing any kind of service by keep talking about it, not getting it done. We've done, in my opinion, excellent in our budgets in the last 2 or 3 years. The economy's good. We know it may not always be like that, but you know, the old saying is make hay while the sun shines. I think we need to dedicate $500,000 of our taxes towards capital, earmark them for capital projects like this, and go ahead and dedicate those projects and get them done. So we just got to get there.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
I agree with Sam, sure do. That's all I got.
Commissioner Martin?
You
Thanks,
agree,
Mr.
that's
Chairman.
3 votes.
First up, service delivery strategy. It's a no-brainer that it should be for constituent benefit. It should not just benefit city or county. Opportunities for our youth. We had an opportunity with Tractor Supply and some others, even Burger King, to expand opportunity, business tax revenue, which is highest and best in the county, and we missed the boat. Whether that's a city issue or a county issue, it's really both of our issues because those are jobs and taxes that benefit our youth and our school system. Number 3, again, economic development is a no-brainer. You have to invest from a service delivery standpoint in the opportunities for economic development, and I think in the strategy conversation, that needs to be a part of it. It shouldn't just be, okay, we're going to meet whatever the population rate is, that's what the service delivery strategy is. No, when we have a business that's going to come to town, you're going to ante up a few dollars or you're going to abate some taxes, and that should be a part of the conversation. Last year we had a $1,000 surplus, and I'm not going to beat that horse to death again, but we had a $1 million surplus, in taxes, and I think those are opportunities for us to make these investments and the improvements. We spent more in concrete out here for dogs, Chairman, than we did for basketball courts on Highway 49. So I'm going to ask you to be chairman for our district as well, because we need those things. Fire stations, no-brainer. We've been talking about fire stations since I've been here, and the needs that they have, as well as the compensation for firefighters and the water that's necessary. For 7+ years, Sam, I've seen a plan that involves water. It only takes $500,000 a year to fund it. We spend over $350,000 in fuel for public works in a county our size, just to give that perspective. Since I've been here, and I'm the resident Democrat, our county budget has grown from $15.5 million to $21 million. That's almost $5 million in spending in 7 years. Go back and look at the tax digest. They're going to post it again in the newspaper. That's spending. That's a 25% increase in 6, almost 7 years. This body controls that. When one of the last deeds that Mr. Underwood did before he left, he reset the budget to the previous year's budget, which blew it out of park by almost $2 million. If we go back to when we did the 10% cut across the board, that budget satisfied all the needs in the county at right around $17.5 to $18 million, which meant there was an additional $3 million of spending. I'm not crazy. Go back and look at the numbers. That's what I do. Lastly, it's real simple. I agree with Sam on this. We talk a lot, but we don't do the work, and the work has to get done, not just in an election year, but throughout all the years. And the only way it happens is when this body, you all citizens, show up and say, hey, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, and you hold us accountable. Lastly, Mr. Zimmerman, we do argue a good bit, and I had to take a pause because I got yelled at by my wife. You're still welcome to come to my house and shoot that .50 caliber. It's on me and anybody else that wants to join in, because it's okay for us to disagree, but at the end of the day, we have to do what's right for the citizens. And with that being said, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank y'all. There's nothing else. I need a motion to adjourn to go into executive session tonight.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye? And we do want to thank each and every one of you. You're welcome back anytime. All right.